Hey YouTube, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. And this week has been an absolute scorcher. So I want to talk about this week, the weather. I also want to talk about one of my sort of favourite buzzwords when it comes to how I operate and run my business, which is efficiency. And I want to just have a chat about what this week has been bringing in general. So this week has been very, very hot. Now, I'm going to make myself sound like an idiot. It's not hot as in, don't get me wrong, it's hot to work in, but it's like as if the intensity of the sun is a lot more than normal, or the UV. I've felt myself burn. I've even had sunburn on my nose, which I've never, ever had before. So I'm making a conscious decision every day to put sunscreen on. You know, at the end of the day, you forget about it, you put it off, you think, oh, it makes it worse because it makes your skin go sticky. Well, you know, and I'm guilty of all of that, but at the end of the day, melanoma probably isn't the funniest form of any illness you can ever get. So, like I said, just look after yourselves, take plenty of fluids. It always amazes me with customers where some of them are like, you know, there's a cold drink here. You know, it sounds horrible, but the people who are sort of have the least to give, they're the people who are like, we've got cans for you, we've got drinks for you, we'll leave drinks out for you. I've put a bottle of water in the fridge, you know, even if it's a bottle of water. You know, and the people who are sort of, well, you know, the other end of that don't seem to really bother you. You know, and I suppose in many ways you sort of know your place really. But I've said in the past about one of my most lavish purchases, and that is the Makita fridge. By far, that's the most expensive thing. Well, not the most expensive, that's the most lavish thing, because at the end of the day, it's a fridge, you know. But I bought that, I'm sure it's coming on for about 5 years old. And I've been using it every summer since running my business, and every summer I've had ice cold drinks, and I can't begin to tell you just how much of a luxury that is. I go to Farm Foods once a month. I get their free crates of pop for 26 quid is. I think it used to be 3 crates for 19. I get crates of water, crates of cordial, you know, Lucozade isotonic drinks. I'm not a fan of, you know, sugary drinks per se, but them Lucozade ones, them isotonic ones, what the athletes have. If ever you're feeling dehydrated, I just literally, this is probably not the best advice, but I literally smash one of them and a bottle of Pepsi Max. You know, ideally it should be water, but beforehand you've got that little bit of headache, you've got that little bit of dehydration setting in. I just smash one of them down, and I think it replaces what you've lost through sweat. And yeah, it just sorts me out every single time, and they do taste pretty good, but I try and sort of be a little bit mindful with them because of, you know, sugar and all that, but you know, they're necessary sometimes. But yeah, look after yourself. I am on the hunt for a sun hat, because I can feel the sun catching the back of my head sometimes, even with sunscreen on, so I want to get something like that sorted out. If it does sound a little bit blowy, well, I'm in a camper van and I've got the skylight open and the fan on, but it's weird, it's actually hotter at my house than it is in the camper van. I think because the camper van is a smaller space and it's insulated, it actually cools down a lot quicker, so it's actually really pleasant in here. So, you know, bonus for me, I suppose. But yeah, this week's gone all right. It's a bit of a funny one really. So I had a call off the tool repair place that I use, and I dropped off my Stihl HLA 135 to him, God, about 3 weeks now, 4 weeks ago. They've got round to looking at it, and you don't know what to believe with them, but they've said that they've had to take pictures of it and send it off to Stihl and still have deemed that it's got commercial wear on it. I'm like, well, yeah, it will have. I'm a commercial user, and they know that. And he says, well, it turns out when you bought it, it was registered as private, and because it's only got a year's commercial warranty, it's out of, it's out of warranty, so you're gonna have to pay the bill. Is that okay? I says, well, no, because I've got the still connected, which gives it an extra year, and he didn't know about that, so I had to tell him about that, which he then looked up, and then he said, okay, but it's still been registered as thingy, a personal use tool. I said, well, you've got the purchase date of it then, haven't you? He says, yeah, we know when you bought it. So in the end, I've had to send off an invoice that I bought it to prove I've bought it. I can't understand really, but anyway, so it's hopefully going to be repaired. It's weird because they've priced up all the parts and all the labour, and told me what it's going to be to get me to pay for it or get it under warranty, but now they've actually got to order the parts and fit the parts. But anyway, it's beside the point. But the only reason I mention it, it's not for a moan actually, it's for the whole argument of, do you buy it, do you repair a tool or do you replace a tool? Now, they quoted £333 or £330 and 60p, one of the two. Basically 330 quid for this repair. What had ended up happening, so you picture the gearbox head, the bit where the blade comes out of, the pin had sheared off inside of it. Now, I'll be honest with you, if I think I can fix that myself. Basically, I'll just look at an exploding diagram and I'll work it out, but it's under warranty, so I'm not going to dick around with it. But I thought 330 quid's a little bit steep really, but like I said, we're not here necessarily to discuss their pricing. But yeah, but the tool itself was only 490 quid. So, as a sort of a business owner, do you replace that? Do you spend that money on that tool? So do you spend the extra 170, 160 quid to get it repaired, but then you've still got a tool which is out of warranty, if it was out of warranty, and it's already shown its first sign? Or do you say, right, no problem, get it gone for spares and repairs? In all fairness, you'd probably get 150 quid spares and repairs because the engine's fine on it, somebody more competent. This is working under the assumption that you won't be able to fix it yourself, or you don't know how to fix it yourself, and then start again with a brand new tool and a brand new blue tick thing, still connected. I think the still connected things are pretty useless, but they give you an extra year of warranty, so make sure you buy them whenever you buy any tool where you get the extended warranty. It's a no-brainer really. 35 quid compared to 330 quid, I know which one I'm going to be spending all day. All of the tools I'll be buying now will be coming with the still connected. So like I said, this tool itself is going to go into storage. I'm going to use it until the warranty's up on it, and I'm going to make my decision. But I'm probably going to put that away for storage, so I'll get it cleaned down, stripped down, sharpened, and I'll get that sent, put into storage, and I'll just buy a whole new one with a new warranty, and I'll run it. Some people might be like, well, why don't you just run that one into the, basically use it till it's thingy. Thing is with me, I like having spares. I like having a spare in case there's a problem, and I'd rather have a good spare than one that's, served a few seasons. Well, technically, probably by the time I get it back and by the end of this season, it would be out of warranty, and it's had its 2 seasons worth of work. It's not to say that you only get 2 seasons out of work, but for me, it's all about keeping it within the warranty, to avoid that, 330 quid. You imagine if you had, like, every second or third tool had a cost equivalent to that. No, like I said, so, keep with that really. So, work's coming in. It's amazing, actually. I haven't got much in the way of advertising going on at the moment, but the amount of walked up work and recommended work is keeping everything topped up. And I'll be honest with you, I've got more of it. I'm at the point now where I've got more than enough work on, and I'm at the point where realistically, I said to myself at the start of the year, I don't want to be doing as much work as I do, and I'm at that point now where really I can be picky, and I can start turning it away. But like anything, You know, we've had that expensive tax bill, what I mentioned. You know, so that's a sort of a bolt out the blue, literally a bolt out the blue. So I've got to, you know, cover the cost of that. And also saving up for winter. You know, I'll be honest with you, as much as I've said about, you know, getting time for myself, it's hard to turn away the money, it's hard to turn the work away, it's hard to turn, you know, the taps down really. I'm still making sure I get at least one full day off a week, and I'm still making sure I'm getting plenty of time to myself, but it's hard to turn away that work, and especially if it's good work. It's not even like, you know, I'm taking extra work on and it's a horrible border job. It's actually really, really good work. So I had a conversation with a customer today that I took on, and we'll see how it goes. She used to have a bloke who used to come every 2 weeks and do 3 hours worth of work for her, and I cannot see for the life of me how somebody would spend 3 hours a week at that. I can, is if you're dragging it out and you're on a low hourly rate and you've got nothing to do all day. I explained to her that, you know, the average visit duration, I can't give you a time, but it could be anything from 45 minutes to maybe the 3 hours, but it will not be like that every single week. So like I said, we'll have to sort of go from there when it comes to that. But she asked me to mow the lawn for her because she's getting a little bit stressed because the garden's looking a bit untidy. And I explained to her that, you know, the earliest I can do is next week. Well, it's like the 1st of July or something when it's the earliest I can do. And she's like, oh, she said, will you be able to mow the lawns now? I said, yeah, it's no problem. So I mowed the front lawn, and she was like, God, you were quick. I'm like, well, let's have a look at the lawns and see what you think to them. You know, there's being quick, and then the thing is, it only takes something to be missed, and then that quickness is your downfall, basically. But she was happy with it. Well, she says she was. I'm at the point now where there's people out there that'll say one thing and actually mean the complete opposite. So, you know, I do find myself second guessing it sometimes, but anyway, that's a me thing. So the subject for this video today, I want to talk about, like I said at the start, I want to talk about efficiency. And efficiency is one of the things that I think can help your business grow. I think it can help your bank balance grow, your turnover grow. I think it can help your mental, you know, fortitude, bank balance, whatever it is, and I think you'll enjoy your job more. And I think first off, sort of quick disclaimer, this depends on what type of gardener you are and what type of business that you're operating. If you are a hourly gardener and you do everything to an hourly rate, I think most of this conversation is going to be irrelevant. And I think as well, if you were to, you know, you're in a position where this is a job/hobby job, and you just enjoy being in people's garden, you know, you know, they'll pay you for a couple of hours and you've got that time to potter around. Well, again, but I think the majority of us, or hopefully all of us, want to be in a position where we want to use this as an opportunity to better ourselves. And don't get me wrong, I'm not a rack and stack 'em gardener. I'm not you know, a gardener where I never see anybody and I've never got time for anybody. You know, I love my customers, I love talking to them. You know, it's in a way, I know I could definitely be quicker, but I do like having a chat, even if it's a 5-minute chat with people, 10-minute chat. You know, I think I always put myself in their situation, that, you know, put yourself in a situation where you know, you don't see many people and the only person you see is the gardener and the postman. Postmans are getting less frequent, you know, the milkman's early in the morning, you know, so the gardener, you know, that one conversation a fortnight, you know, can mean a lot to somebody, and that's how I sort of see it. I'd want somebody to, you know, have 5 minutes to talk to me. So I always do, to be fair. And this sounds horrible. I'm not saying you've got to price in for that, but this is why you've got to get your pricing right. So if it is that a customer is having, you know, a 5-minute chat with you, a 10-minute chat, you know, I'm happy with the rates that I'm charging him. If it was that I'd underpriced the job and then I was there 10 minutes extra, and that means 10 minutes getting home later, it would be a different story. So I'm very happy with where I am when it comes to my pricing for my customers and my work. So like I said, if you were in a position where you're charging an hourly rate, this Lex part might not be for you. So I think there's three sort of things that contribute towards efficiency. I think motivation / mindset, I think tools, and I think knowledge and training. So the first one is motivation. I love the fact that I can go and do the night before or the morning of, sometimes I'll get my diary out and I will write down all the jobs that I need to do. And I don't know whether, you know, as your brain gets older, you can't remember much thing, but I am now a list guy. So I write my jobs for my day. I also write me, you know, my personal jobs. So if I've got to nip to the post office, pick a bag of compost, go to the doctors, you know, go for a haircut, I write all that down. So I've got a nice list in front of me. And when I start my jobs for the day, I can look at that list and I can start ticking them off. And, you know, you start your day, you've done a couple of hours work, you've ticked off a couple of people, but you've still got like 8 people to do. And then, you know, by dinner time, you've managed to tick off another 3 or 4, so you can see the light. You start ticking off your personal. I like that. I'm very, very motivated to do the work that I do, to see the customers that I see. I really enjoy doing the work that I do. I love going around, pottering around. A lot of my jobs are small jobs, so I'm in and out within 20-30 minutes sometimes. So I'm able to sort of, like I said, get in and out quickly. And I love it. I really, really do like it. I have got time for people. If I haven't got time for people, I always be upfront and honest with them. And I explain to them that, Luke, I've got a how day today. I've got a day of catching up. I can't talk today, but I will be able to talk next time. And I just do that. And, you know, and you can tell the people that have got something on the mind. Excuse me, or they've had a bad day and they want somebody to talk to. So I don't mind really. Quick sort of backtracking. So my sciatica last podcast was titled My How Week. This week it has been so much better. I can't believe to tell you how much better I feel mentally and physically. I'm able to get back work. I've been able to catch up. I've been able, you know, and this is another thing with the motivation. You can see the jobs coming in. This is why cash flow is so important, because I have a mix of everybody. Some people pay by cash, some people by card, some people pay by bank transfer. Bank transfer could take a few days depending on the customer. Same with the card machine. Cash, I have to sort of wait for a bit until I get enough to then post it into the post office. I'm not taking 20 quid, 50 quid, 100 quid at a time. But it's nice now seeing that the old bank balance is creeping up a little bit. I've started sending, you know, a bit of money over for the tax bill that's coming up. So we can sort of see the trees for the woods, if you get what I mean. So I'm very happy with, you know, the way that that's going. I really, really am. So let's get back to talking about efficiencies, shall we? I've such a scatterbrain. So yeah, you've got to be motivated. You've got to want to get on. You've got to sort of have all of your ducks in a line. So, you know, for me, I'm in a position where I've got a lot of small jobs. So I don't let the weather necessarily put me off. If it's an absolute horrible day and it's pouring down with rain, then, well, I just cancel or move the visits. Get them done the day before, get them done the next day. And then, you know, I'll have that day to myself, or I'll do other jobs, basically admin, paperwork. But by and large, I want to be there. I want to get done quickly. One of the things that I do for myself is I schedule lunch breaks, food breaks. I'm trying to lose a bit of weight, so we're 4 stone down since Christmas. So what I'm doing is I don't eat much when I'm out. I find it sounds weird, but if I have like a big meal or a meal prep and it's something heavy and it's within my calories, it tends to sort of Once I've had that, it's like as if, oh, you don't want to go back to work sort of thing. You know, and I find as well, don't get me wrong, I like to be able to sit and have dinner, but I'll be honest with you, let me know in the comments, do you think like this? I think sometimes it's a waste of time to sit there and have 20 minutes, half an hour. What I will do is I'll grab a bag of crisps, or I know it's not the most healthy, but sometimes that's all I need just to carry me over till I go for my tea, or I have my tea when I get back. So I have something, or something light, protein bar, or you know, something like that, some protein, lean protein, and that, you know, I'll sit, eat that. I will watch a couple of like Instagram, YouTube short reels while I'm having that. I'll have a drink, you know, plenty of fluids at this time of the year, and then I'll be off on the way and I'll be on to the next job. But I found scheduling like food for that, time for that, so right, I'll have me snack, I'll have me meal, I'll have me, you know, in betweeny thing after this job or next job. That's helped a lot, because traditionally what I would do is I'll have me a dinner, meal prep, you know, you'd be full, so to speak. It'd slow you down, you'll spend 10-20 minutes extra, you know, you'll eat your meal while watching something, you'll get engrossed, and then you'll start scrolling on TikTok or bloody Instagram or whatever mind rot I've got on my phone. And then before you know it, the day's gone. Well, not the day's gone, but you know what I mean, you've spent 20 minutes, half an hour. One of the things as well that I do is I make sure I try and do my paperwork while I'm out. So if there's a rainstorm, or you know, rain shower, or hot point, whatever, just, you know, even now I just sit in the van, get the AC on, do my paperwork, I'll have my snack, and I'll go back out, and that means I've not got 10 minutes of paperwork when I get home. So it all pans out really. The next one is, and I'll talk about knowledge and training. So when I used to work at the building site, for the building site, looking after their holiday accommodation, the decorators would get the most sort of shit on the whole sort of pecking order. And there's that saying that if you piss you can paint sort of thing. I never got on board with it, because I could see that it was a skilled job, in air quotes. There's an order to it, there's a way to do it, and I think I've painted my camper van, but I'll be honest with you, if a painter and decorator did it, someone who does it day in, day out, it would be a lot better. Just the same as Mrs. Such and Such, or, you know, old Mr. Cobbler Wobbler down the road, he can mow a lawn, and they might look at us, you know, grass cutters, gardeners, and think, oh, it's just a mowing a lawn. Well, I genuinely believe there's a vast difference between us and a homeowner. The amount of times I go to lawns and they'll say to me, oh, it used to take me hours to cut the lawn, or last time I cut it take me 3 hours, and I bashed it off in half an hour. And they're almost sort of shocked at that, you know, if you've done it. And then they come out and look at it to see that you've done it, and it's like, blooming hell, it used to take me ages. And the reason is motivation. You know, you want to be in and out. You've got the equipment, I'll talk about that in a bit, but also you've got the knowledge and the experience. It's like when I do tidy ups, I do it in a certain order. I don't mind doing weeding as part of garden maintenance, as long as it's got a lawn attached. And one of the things that I do is I grub all the weeds out, I rake it straight onto the lawn, and then rake it further into the lawn to make sure there's no stones, flick them back on, and I just mow the whole lot up. Same with any shrubs or hedges that are nearby, blow it all onto the lawn and mow the lawn. And you know, you're doing your tidy up and your grass cutting at the same time. So there is ways to do it. I find when you'll take a lawn on for the first time, after you've cut it 4 or 5 times, you'll be a lot quicker. You sort of learn the lawn, you learn the way around it, you learn, you know, the bits that are a bit fiddly, you learn the right way to cut it. It's just stupid stuff, it really, really is. It's just, like I said, it's stupid stuff, but you get it with experience. You do. I can guarantee if you've been working in this industry, for like a few years, you probably mowed more lawns than the average homeowner would in their life, really. So obviously you're going to have more experience than the average homeowner. The next one is kit and equipment. So I've put the mower out now, so I bought the Artesia mower, and that thing has been an absolute brute when it comes to doing the lawns. It's been excellent. It's got a lot more power than the Stihl roller mower. It's 4-wheel, so it's not easier to maneuver, but it feels easier to maneuver. It's a nice light little mower, so I've been using that instead of the big Stihl 21 mower. So it's just better. It's the best mower I've used, if I'm being honest with you. So I'm using that as my main mower. So I've got now a nice light little mower. It's got so much more power than even the big Stihl 6 series mower. I've done very small lawns with it. I've done very big lawns with it. I've done cut and drop lawns where instead of topping them like I did with the Stihl mower, because it's got such a big opening at the back, it just doesn't block. So it can literally cut the grass, spit it out. Beforehand with the Stihl, you were trying to mulch it, and it'd just make a mess. It would, don't get me wrong, a half attempted mulch finish will always be a bit better than a cut and drop. But at the same time, with these lawns that I have been cut and dropping, they are being cut. With the Stihl one, you're sort of topping them, you know, you're mulching them on the highest setting, and it's struggling and it's stalling, and it's, you know, this mower, I think I've stalled it twice since I've owned it. It's been absolutely excellent. So same with the cordless, same with the Wolf-Garten, same with the layout when it comes to your van. You know, think about your layout of your van. I have the Wolf-Garten stuff at the back with the poles at the back. I have the cordless gear at the front, behind the bulkhead with all the batteries. So I'm not going to the front of the van, to the side of the van, to back to the van. I've got my gardener's bucket with all the most commonly used tools that I have. So I can just take that straight to the job with a Wolf-Garten pole, and I can pretty much tackle the majority of, you know, small garden maintenance tasks. I've got a mix of tools, so I've not just got one hedge trimmer. So I've seen gardeners where they just have a handheld hedge trimmer, so any tall edges, they're automatically up ladders. I've got long reach. I've also got the little, I call them the little bikini line trimmer ones that still do with a little dinky battery, the AK or the AS battery. That's brilliant for doing them little topiary shrubs, them little privet balls. So having the right kit, the right knowledge, the right motivation, what it does is it speeds you up. And I think time is money in this industry. This is why I was saying it won't work necessarily if you're doing an hourly thing. So invest in your equipment, invest in yourself. You know, you imagine if you, and I've done this, I had a customer that I took on, I've mentioned this story a few times, where I don't want to turn it into an argument against charging hourly, but you can either speed up for yourself so you can get off to that next job sooner, or you can speed up for that customer, which means that you'll be finishing earlier, but you won't be, you'll be doing more work. So that's why I say it. Like I said, I like being efficient, but I think it's a fine line. I think you've got to, it's that delicate balance, and I'm sure every service-based industry does this. Every business has this dilemma, basically, where they want to charge, you know, and every product, where they want to get the most money for the product that they can without giving the customer that impression that it's too expensive and therefore not worth it. And I think us as a luxury service, we should be priced as such, but there is people out there that don't want to pay it, or they think we should be paid a lot less than we actually should. I've had a few conversations with customers where I've mentioned, it's like today I said to this lady that, and really, you probably shouldn't say it. You should probably give the customers that air of, you know, we're just in it for the fun, and then they're happy with that, because I do think there is people out there that don't like the thought of us getting on in life, if you get what I mean, and making a profit. I think the P word for some customers is very sort of vulgar. They don't like the thought of somebody profiting over them. They don't mind paying you to do the lawn, but we've said this before, you can go to a customer and charge them, you know, you can ask for £25 an hour and they'll look at you like you've absolutely gone out. But then you can say to a customer, I'll mow your lawn for you with £25, it takes you 30 minutes, and they're fine with that. I think it's the hourly thing, maybe because and I can't understand as an industry how it is. We've got to the point where it should be an hourly and customers expect it to be an hourly, and when it's not an hourly, they're sort of, you know, at a loss basically. Like I say, I can't sort of understand. Same with like garage. I can understand with like garages and places where that's how they measure like a labour rate, time rate, but as a gardener, as I say, it's a whole different conversation, isn't it really? And it's one that I don't want to go down, because a lot of us start our business charging hourly, and it's very easily to get stuck in the rut with that, and I did that. I think the next video I'm going to do is going to be talking about how to get away from charging hourly, because that's the thing that I struggled with the most when I started my business, where I had customers that I had a lot of hourly customers, and I was getting more and more fixed price. And what ended up happening, I almost had two sets of customers. One that I wasn't very motivated to be at because I had to do the time, and because they were hourly, they wanted the time. And then the flip side to that, as I felt like I had to be there the hour when I didn't need to be there the hour. I was being slowed down. They wanted me to sort of quicken up, you know, to get more done in the time. But you know what your time's worth at that point. So like I said, I'm going to talk about that in the next episode, I think. But yeah, this week's gone good. Hopefully the hedge trimmer should be back. I will run it until the warranty's up, and then it will go into storage. Equipment wise, I am, as I said, I keep saying this, as I said, but I am being a bit more careful now. I want to try, and I've said to myself that I want to spend the next month or so just get myself ahead with this tax bill, get the money shoved away. Well, not all of it, but you know, get myself ahead a little bit, and then we can get back into investing. Because one of the things that I need, the next thing is the combi trimmer. My combi unit it's got to be 3 or 4 years old now, and that thing gets the most use. So I want to get that replaced or upgraded. I was going to get the big 200 one, but I really don't see the point in it, because typically I'm just whizzing around the edges of lawns. If they've got one slightly above the one that I've got now, I'll probably get that, because I do still use it for the big jobs. The 135 I find's got plenty of power, even when using the Oregon mulching blade. But I want to start again. I want to get that one put into storage, so I've got a good spare, and I want to get a new one, 2-year warranty on it, start fresh. And then that way, when I start into the next couple of years of my gardening journey, I've got good equipment behind me. I've got, you know, the mower will have a 2-year warranty. Most of the tools will have a warranty on it still. So if something changes, because what I want to do at the start of next season, probably January, I want to look at getting a new van, because I want to get a new van in January, because while I've got the time off, I want to really kit it out. I want to get this, and I can see the title now. I want to make the best van for a gardener possible. I want this to be not a van that people will look at and go, you know, in a bad way, look at that. But I want it to be the best van for a one-man band, self-employed gardener. I want it to be the most versatile. I've got some ideas. I want it to be set up for cordless users. So I want to have a way of charging the batteries. I want to have it where it's set up for my unique business, where one week I could be doing a big garden tidy up, the following week I could be doing a house clearance. I want to get away from towing the trailer if I can, so that's why I want as much room in the back. So it's going to be a bigger van. It's going to be a much bigger van than what I've got now, but not huge. So like I said, I have got some really big plans. So this is why I want to get ahead. This is why I want to get everything sorted, get nice and ahead, get it all ready, get this year smashed off, get the operation done, and then January, you know, hopefully I've had the op, get the new van, get it set up, get it ready for the season. And then the 2026 season, you know, we're rolling in with good kit, nice smart van, You know, I'm going to get its sign written. It's going to look the bollocks. It's going to look the bollocks on the outside, and it's going to look the bollocks on the inside. So have a good day, guys. As usual, keep on gardening and do whatever you need to stay ahead in this industry.